Prosecutor says Raj Rajaratnam wanted to conquer Wall Street and he was willing to corrupt his friends and his employees to do it. So closing arguments underway in the biggest insider trading trial in a generation right here in New York. Former federal prosecutor and our experts on this case joining us. I know, Doug, you've been good enough to be with us these past few weeks. I should say your last name too, right? Doug Burns. So we're glad to have you right here in the newsroom with us. So essentially, tomorrow we think is going to be off, right? But today is the last day of deliberations. But then the jury is probably going to take how many days to think about this case?
Well, it's funny that you asked that because there's sort of a rule of thumb. People say that often. It's like, 1 day of deliberation for each week of trial. But that's not, a hard and fast rule. But what I will say is, after a trial of 5 or 6 weeks, the jury has to slowly start going through everything. Typically, they send out notes. We'd like to see this exhibit. We'd like to hear a read back. And they themselves sort of want to go through the evidence. So it takes a little time.
Now, Doug, you saw Raj Rajaratnam yesterday, didn't you?
I did, because I was in the building on a matter of my own, and there I was having lunch, and I saw him walk by.
And you said he looked relaxed, right?
He looked pretty calm. Yes.
Which is weird because according to reporters who are down there, they say, look, things are really looking bad for him. I mean, the prosecuting attorney yesterday, just going over all of these wiretaps, all of these transcripts. I mean...
Well, yeah, I mean, the government sounded the themes that we expected them to sound. They quoted Anil Kumar and Mr. Goel. Those were the two biggest pieces of evidence, in my opinion.
And really tried to poke holes in Kumar, essentially saying that he lied.
Right. And, they said, look, there were quotes like, first of all, they said the most powerful evidence in this case, ladies and gentlemen, is the defendant's own voice, which is dramatic. And, of course, that tracks the fact that they had wiretaps. And they said he corrupted Wall Street. He had tomorrow's information today. The reason I give you these quotes is these are sound bites, just like on television, to catch the jury's attention. And that's the way it works. But the defense got up, by the way, because the government went for 4.5 hours. That's a lengthy summation, obviously, but it was a long case. And the defense got up and right away came out swinging. They said the case is a fiction. They have smeared my client. He's a hardworking man. He dealt on public information. It wasn't material. And then he incorporated some of the law. He said he did not get this information by virtue of somebody breaching a duty, fiduciary
a lot of
duty.
Key language
Yeah. And the government also used law. They said, look, this is not information that the average investor would have. That's also right out of the jury instructions.
All right, Doug, I don't want to be too annoying and ask you to look into a crystal ball.
Here we go.
But based on everything that you know, just to hear, who wins, the defense or the prosecution? I
think the government has the edge. However, I'm going to make 2 points which aren't necessarily legal or academic. One is that it was only 1% of the man's trading. 2, he supposedly lost $60 million in a trade that he got inside information on. Now, the government said, real quick, ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to make a gain. It still violates the law. So I think if the jury's conscientious, they'll understand that. But it's really a bit of a confusing thing. So right now, the edge is to the government. But I really can never predict, seriously, Deirdre, what a jury's going to do.
All right. Well, that's why we've bugged you to come back next week and go over a few more details.
I'd be very happy. That's why I don't want to commit to a specific prediction. And then you're going to say you were wrong, Doug.
No, we wouldn't say that, Doug. We wouldn't do that. We just know you have good insight and a little bit more of a possibility to predict what could happen. Doug Burns joining us there. He is going to be back with us next week, former federal prosecutor.